It's the fourth year for Madonna Lacrosse under head coach Carlos Mata. It's been 3 straight years of a quarterfinal exit in the WAC Conference Tournament and a 2024 season that ended via heartbreak here on the campus of Madonna University. Carlos Mata, Nicholas Petras had some question marks going into the offseason. A lot of talent returning, a lot of big names coming in, but some question marks leading to a potential big 2025 season. I'm Sean Massa. You're watching the Madonna Lacrosse preseason interview for a potential historic 2025 season. We'll kick it aside, Carlos Mata to start things off. Sean Massa joined by head coach Carlos Mata. Carlos, let's talk about the beginning of your coaching career. You start at the high school level, then you're associate coach at Lourdes University from 2019 to 2022. You take over here at Madonna in 2022, and you're here now. How has your coaching style kind of evolved throughout the years?
Yeah, I think like a lot of young coaches, you initially when you start coaching, you try to emulate the good coaches that you had growing up. So for me, a lot of my lacrosse coaching early on was trying to emulate other guys, maybe not super being myself. So I think mostly over the years it's been really getting more comfortable with the way that I want to coach, and I think I think the guys will always buy into you being authentic. So just learning kind of what I like, what we're trying to do. And then even farther than that, I think we've changed pretty drastically as a coaching staff in general and myself with the way that we try to coach the guys. So I would say early on, even here, we're a lot more traditional, a lot of skeleton-style drills, a lot of on-air type stuff, shooting, all that type of stuff. And again, something that whether I was coaching at high school or early on here, or even at Lourdes, I thought we did a really good job at doing that stuff, but we weren't always seeing the results that we wanted out of it. So it just felt like something had to change to try to get better results out of the guys, get better performances out of the guys, consistency out of the guys. So we, over the last year and a half, have been transitioning to a coaching style called constraints-led approach. So it's very dependent on ecological dynamics, a lot of research on it. A guy named Alex Sarama really kind of put it in my purview. He went on Jamie Monroe podcast, which is a pretty big podcast for lacrosse coaches, and talked about it. He's actually currently the player development coach for the number 1 seed Cavs. So he's been doing a great job, obviously, with them. This was his first year. They've had a lot of success. So it's something that really caught my eye as a different way to coach players. But basically, the thought process is, you don't do a lot of stuff on air, really nothing on air. It's all, perception and action together. So with everything that we're doing with the guys now, it's everything is kind of developing the guys, both perception and action at the same time. So they have to react to a defense and make those reads, not just dodging on cones or air and trying to make, imaginary reads off of that stuff. They actually have a defender in front of them. Even if it's just another offensive guy who's not playing great defense, that's still a read they have to make, still a decision they have to make, still body language they have to decipher. So, there's a lot of research now that shows that is a lot more beneficial in terms of getting guys the results that they want consistently in games. So that's really what we're trying to do with the guys, and that's, I would say, the most of how we've adjusted and how I've adjusted as an individual coach over the years is getting really away from a lot of the on-air stuff and really kind of pushing that wholeheartedly and really buying into that holistically. And I think we've seen great results from it with the guys. And again, I think the guys enjoy it a lot more because it tends to have a lot more competition-based stuff than in practice. There isn't, a 20 or 30-minute segment where they're kind of just like doing things on air and have to imagine how things work. And everything is at least somewhat competitive and I think gives the guys a lot more buy-in as well.
And then you touched base on it right there. The results may not be there, but you guys are feeling good from an organizational standpoint. 3 straight years here at Madonna where you've had quarterfinal exits in the conference tournament, but you guys have had a lot of success other than that. You've been ranked in the top 10 multiple times. You've had some big wins, some unfortunate losses. What did you as a coach bring into the offseason to kind of try to put your guys in a better position this year to change that outcome, get over that hump?
Yeah, I think every year you lose the last game of the year, you always look back on what you did wrong. And unfortunately for us, the last 3 years has been, making the playoffs, which is great, but losing early in the playoffs. So, looking back on last year, I think, it was the first semester we really switched over to kind of trying to do constraints-led approach in the spring. So it was the first semester of us really doing it. And I think we didn't know what we didn't know, and I think we learned a lot from the mistakes we made almost entirely as a coaching staff. I think the guys did everything that they could with what we gave them to be the best team they could be on the field. I think it was us at a coaching level, myself the most, who let the guys down. I don't think we had a great understanding of what we should be focusing on. I think we over-focused on some things that led us to really struggling to, create winning matchups later in the year. We kind of took it for granted how well we were dodging early in the year and really started focusing on after we win a dodge, how do we turn that into a goal-scoring opportunity? And as we got later in the year and we got against better teams and maybe had some injuries impact us, we really struggled to kind of create those initial dominoes and win the dodges in the first place. So I think just having a better focus this year on kind of the whole process and not, hyper-focusing on one aspect of the game or another, but really just giving the guys a touch of everything every single day. We got to get better at winning one-on-one dodges. We got to get better at playing within our two-man games. We got to get better at, great spacing off ball, the ride and clear. All that stuff has to be hit on pretty much daily. And that's really what we're trying to focus on this year is, with the talent that we have way more depth than we had last year. We have, again, I would say equal or better talent than we had last year as well with that depth. So, we expect a lot of the guys, and I think, so again, that's always the struggle as a coach is, you feel like you're letting the guys down. So I think we looked back as a coaching staff about all the stuff that we felt like we did wrong, and I think we've come up with a really good plan to hopefully have the guys set up for success a lot better this year, throughout the whole season, and hopefully playing our best lacrosse in April and May.
You talk about setting your guys up for success being an emphasis as a coach. You return a lot of big names from last year, but you also get a lot of big names to come in as additions. How do you as a coach go about kind of getting rid of that grace period, get those new guys firing on all cylinders, playing Madonna lacrosse right away?
Yeah, I think the constraints-led approach has helped a lot with that, because I think a lot of time, in kind of more traditional coaching styles, you're doing kind of some of the perception stuff and then you're doing some of the action stuff separate, and that takes a lot of time. When you're doing that stuff together, as long as you get buy-in from the guys, it really speeds up that process, because it's the guys getting reps live all the time. So, as long as you can keep the guys healthy and not getting beat up too much, the guys get a lot more reps doing the live things they need to be able to do in the game and not imagining them doing it or learning it on air. They're learning it on defense. So they're learning how to not only do the actions and the movements you want them to do to create the goal scoring opportunities, but they're also learning how to then deceive and beat the defense at the same time. So you're killing kind of two birds with one stone, which allows you to practice a lot more stuff throughout your hour and a half or 2 hour practices. So I think that has helped a bunch with us getting guys kind of acclimated, whether it was guys who transferred in or we recruited in as freshmen this fall, or even some of the mid-year transfers that we brought in who have only been practicing for a week, but I think have acclimated really well already to what we're trying to do, how we're playing, and I think will be really key pieces to us hopefully having a really successful year this year.
So we talked about big names returning, big names coming in. One big name that is returning from last year but didn't get a lot of action behind Jeff Varner, Aiden Haver. You've named him the presumptuous Game 1 starter for this year. You've gotten that confidence in him in the goal. What has that been like for you as a coach? The last couple of years, the offseason and camp, getting that confidence and being able to give him the nod.
I think Aiden has always had flashes of being a very good goalie. I think the first couple years, his freshman and sophomore year, there was a pretty clear difference between him and Jeff. Aiden would have flashes where he was close to competitive with Jeff, but I think, Jeff was the number one save guy in the country, one of the best goalies in the country. So, it's a tough guy to be behind as a freshman coming in, and there's a sophomore ahead of you who's very good, obviously. So, but I think Aiden's done a great job at learning from Jeff, while having a really different play style than Jeff, and kind of being comfortable again in his own skin and playing to the best of his abilities and playing to the best of his style and not trying to be anyone else. So I think this was really the first year, maybe a little bit last year in the fall scrimmages, but I think this year especially, Aiden has done a really good job at transitioning the results that we see in practice pretty consistently to games. So I think that was one of the main struggles that he had in freshman and sophomore year especially, was we'd see these flashes in practice where, this guy is really close to Jeff. This is a guy that could really push Jeff for playing time. And then in games, whether it was nerves or a lack of confidence in himself or a multitude of things, we just weren't seeing those results consistently in games. But I think this year he's done a really good job at saving the ball at a high level. I think with goalies, you need them to make all the saves that they're supposed to make, and you need them to steal 4 or 5 a game if you want to be a really good competitive team and have a really good competitive goalie. And I think Aiden has done that and then some. And I think one thing that he does better than Jeff, I think he's worked on it a lot, is his leadership of the defense. I think he does a great job at Wall being a guy who can make really good saves and Wall being a guy who can clear the ball at a really high rate. He leads the defense a lot better than Jeff. I think Jeff was always so focused on making the saves, which is ultimately what you need out of your goalie, is making the saves. I think Aiden does a great job at seeing the shots he wants to seize more consistently because of the way he leads the defense. He holds them accountable. He holds them to a high standard. And the kid's worked his butt off. We do a summer competition, and the last 4 summers, he has been the number 1 guy in those summer competitions with points every single summer. So he works his tail off. He's gotten himself where he needs to be that leader, to earn that respect from the guys, to hold them accountable and hold them to a standard. I'm really proud of him, really excited for him this year to finally get a chance to showcase what we've known for a while, but what everyone else in the country gets to see finally.
And then you go into camp this year to prepare for 2025. Not everyone can see what a coach sees at camp throughout practice, etc. I want to dig into the mind of head coach Carlos Mata real quickly. What are some things during camp that you've seen that kind of garners your excitement ahead of this season?
Yeah, we're competitive, man. Like, the guys have taken it to another level in terms of the way that they compete this year. Just really getting after it. Again, we have a lot of depth this year, so there's a lot more competition for playing time spots as well. So I think that helps push the envelope because, guys can't really feel safe in their spots. They know there's guys behind them who are very good as well, who will be pushing for playing time. So, it's been very competitive this first week. It was very competitive in the fall as well in terms of just, guys working hard. We're going to do what we do. We're going to cause a lot of turnovers. We're gonna ride like crazy. For instance, our last scrimmage against Michigan State this December, we rode at a 54% rate, which is not something that we expect to do. That would be unrealistic. But that just speaks to the level of aggression that we're going to play with. We're going to cause chaos on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively, hopefully we're going to put the ball in the back of the net a lot. So I think we're really excited about the team this year. I think the guys are really excited about the talent, the depth that we have. But yeah, I would say the main takeaway for me is just the level of competition, the level of drive from the guys has definitely stepped up another level this year. And, that might be a little push from us as coaches, but it's really the guys doing it themselves and understanding. And probably for the senior class, especially, feeling those 3 quarterfinal exits as well. Right, that they were the class that I came in with, and like it or not, that's been kind of our results the last 3 years. So, I know those guys feel that as well, and I think they're doing a great job at holding the team to, our standard, which is chasing excellence.
Thank you so much, Coach. That's head coach Carlos Mata talking about the 2025 season, one of the best defenses in the country last year. So on that note, we'll kick it aside, bring it back with the associate head coach and defensive coordinator of Madonna Lacrosse, Nicholas Petrus. We finish off the coaching side of things with the defensive coordinator and associate head coach, Nicholas Petrus. Coach, let's talk real quickly about the defense. You guys had a really good defense last year, one of the best in the country. You led the nation in caused turnovers, top 10 in ground balls. Kind of walk me through your mentality, both in the film room and on the practice field and on the sideline during games when coordinating a defense.
Yeah, I think we've been very happy with the success we've had defensively, and, nothing happens on accident, right? So our entire mindset, philosophy on everything that we do is building guys' confidence, right? We play a very different style of defense than I think most other teams in the country. So it's really gaining confidence in our preparation in terms of, the guys got to know the coaches are bought in and knowledgeable about what they're doing, right? Because if the guys don't believe their coaches have genuine intentions or the knowledge to back up the execution of what we're doing, they're not going to buy into the system. And if you're not bought into the system, we're not going to get anywhere. So showing that the coaches are bought into them not only as people but as players as well, and really developing our systems around that. The guys are going into every game with a high level of confidence, confidence that comes with preparation from the film room, practice, everything that we're doing to understand, hey, we are going to be an aggressive team, and that's awesome. Here are those tools to lead you kind of to be successful.
And then you talk about on the defensive side of the ball, you guys have one of the best units, and you have some of the best players defensively in the nation. DeMario Williams, Braden McCullough, just to name a few. Kind of walk me through the perspective as a coach and the luxury it is to have those guys with those skill sets at your disposal.
I mean, it's incredible, right? And it all goes back to recruiting. I know, Coach Mott and myself, we spend a lot of time on the recruiting trail, making sure we're bringing in the right guys. And, to have 2 All-Americans last year, one being a sophomore, one being a true freshman, it's sensational. Like you point out, it's a real luxury, right? So, with that, it's a game changer, especially considering they are so young. Those are not guys that are going to be leaving our program tomorrow. So it's nice that we can build the depth that we need defensively around those guys, and they can help develop the younger guys up in the system so we can kind of stay at the top of the defensive rankings, which is where we want to be. So we definitely don't take that for granted. We make sure we spend the time and resources building those guys up, but making sure that they understand, hey, you got 2-3 years here left. Like, let's build up the guys under you and kind of go from there so they can hopefully replicate their success.
One of the biggest parts of a defense, sometimes people like to say your best defender should be your goalie. New goalie in town with Aiden Haver getting the nod in the goal with Jeff Varner graduating. Having a new goaltender in town, having a different style in the goal crease, does that change anything defensively for both you as a coach and what you try to implement on the field?
Yeah, Jeff Varner, incredible, one of the best goalies in NAIA history. There's no doubt about that. And, kind of bouncing off the last question, too, it's a luxury to have the guys learn from experienced people above them. Haver's been here for a long time now. He's seen how Jeff operates and knows what he likes and knows what he doesn't like. And I think Haver has a really good sense of confidence in and of himself and what he wants from the defense. So, for Haver to be behind Jeff for those years waiting for his moments, like the moment is now for him to really compete, and it doesn't really change how we play around that because we're confident in Haver because he's confident in himself, and we're going to kind of ride that wave.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the defensive coordinator, Nicholas Peters, talking about the season. We've talked to both coaches on the staff. Now we move on to the field. We'll start with senior forward Zach Lane. We move on from the coaching side of things. We move on to the field. We start with senior attackman, captain Zach Lane. Zach, let's talk about your last 2 years. You lead the team both in points and assists both years. They're both top 10 single seasons in Madonna Lacrosse history. Kind of what's going through your mind? What's the mentality like when you're facilitating an offense?
With the amount of time that I've played the sport, I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of different defenses. It's a lot about dissecting the defense while I'm dodging and keeping my head up. A lot of it's also the chemistry that I have with teammates. Nick Bryden, you'll talk to him later, but I've played with him since I was really little, so it's really just the chemistry with me and all my teammates when I'm out there and trusting the fact that they're going to put it in the back of the net for my assists.
And then there's no doubt you guys have the talent up and down the roster, do special things, not only in the WAC, but on the national stage as well. As a senior captain, you kind of bring on that leadership role to get the young guys bought in and locked into what you guys want to accomplish. What does this team have to do to get past that hump of the quarterfinals?
I think the main thing we have to do, we have plenty of talent on the team, I believe. If we're all together and we're all on the same page, come game time, come playoff time, I think we'll have all the talent that we need to be able to succeed, as long as we're all on the same page and we're all have really good chemistry going into playoffs.
Thank you so much, Zach. We got another one coming up. We'll kick it aside. DeMario Williams on the other end. Sean Massa now joined by junior LSM and third-team All-American in the 2024 season, DeMario Williams. DeMario, let's talk about it right there. Last year, third-team All-American. You were top 3 in the nation in CTs. Kind of walk me through what it was like to get that honor from the national level.
Honestly, it was a very, very humbling and honest, great experience simply because I knew coming into fall ball that start of my sophomore year that I wanted to be named All-American. I had my coaches telling me that I had the talent to be able to get there, and my teammates backing me up too. And more so, it was just knowing that my performance on the field was not only helping better myself, but it was very, very impactful for the team. So the fact that I was recognized as having an impact as my individual player as well as on a team level was very, very great for me.
And then you were third-team All-American last year in your sophomore season. Now you're a junior. You're moving to the upperclassmen stage. What this offseason like for you in preparation of knowing what you can do and knowing how much more room there is to grow from a personal perspective?
Very, very focused on what I can achieve next. Third-team All-American is a great achievement in and of itself, but for me personally, I feel like I should have been named higher. And while I'm grateful that I was third team, knowing that I still have 2 more spots that I can continue to go up is the goal for me. So it's now going into this season knowing that, okay, I can be in the top 3-4 cause turnovers. How can I break that? How is achieving higher than that number going to impact my team? How can that help the team grow? So more so it's being focused on, again, my individual achievements, but knowing that performing well as an individual will help the team go further than we have. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mario. We have another one on the other end. We're going to kick it aside to one of the question marks coming into the year, the new goalie in town, Aiden Haver. We move back on over to the goaltending side of things with senior goalie Aiden Haver. Aiden, let's talk about it. You can't go without talking about Jeff Varner. You've been backing him up as of late, the last couple seasons, but kind of talk to me about that process of being behind Jeff, practicing with him, getting ready for this moment, and kind of just working out all the fine-tuning of things.
Yeah, love Jeff to death. It's day by day. I learn a lot from guys above you, and I feel that's in any program you go to. Having that support system from him and coaches as well, and just taking understanding my situation I was in, and taking the most out of it, and just really just trying to learn day by day, step by step, what I can improve on as an individual, as a teammate, as a player, and then we're just trying to move forward, and now we're here. So.
And then you knew going into the offseason that Jeff was going to graduate and the goaltending job was up for grabs. You knew you had the opportunity and you had the moment to get that nod from Coach Mata. What was it like in the offseason for you in preparation for I can go into camp, impress, and get that job? Yeah,
so it was pretty fun. Definitely with Jeff, you never know if he's actually going to be done or not, so I wasn't really thinking much of it. But, I got my own processes and my own offseason stuff that I've been doing for years now, and so – I didn't really think anything past it, and day by day, and I was just doing what I had to do, and we got out of summer, and got to school, and then we started working as a team, and just same process. So,
thank you so much, Aiden.
Yep,
that's Aiden Haver talking about his senior season in the goal. We'll kick it aside, bring you back. We'll end things with Nick Bryden. We end things off with senior midfielder Nick Bryden. Nick, let's talk about last season, a breakout season on your end, 38 goals en route to a second-team all-conference honor. Kind of walk me through that process of that breakout year from your perspective.
I've been playing lacrosse for 15 years, so it goes back to my preparation in high school and, just working in the off seasons. After every practice, I try and shoot, work on my dodges, everything I can to be that better player, and I think that helped me get to my season, I definitely was kind of hunting for goals more, but I think going towards this upcoming season, I'll try and shoot for the same thing, maybe more. So,
when we talk about last season, at times you guys looked the part. You looked to be that conference championship contending team that you guys want to be. Other times it just didn't seem to click all at once. Kind of walk me through what it's like in the locker room this offseason heading into this year. Kind of mentality for you guys, knowing that, hey, we got to fix some things. We want to get to that next step.
We know the team we can be. Like when we're playing, like you said, top team in the conference. But it's just at the end of the day, it comes up to us. We decide the outcomes of our games, and I think we can do the part this year.
Thank you so much, Nick. That's Nick Bryden, the final of our men's lacrosse preseason interview. 2025 may have just started, but we're 3 weeks away from Madonna Lacrosse. January 31st, they kick off their 2025 campaign.